what is that one thing which is a proper introduction? That is identification of the theme and topic. Never go for memorizing current affairs again and again क्योंकि फिर आप उसी point के चक्कर में 2 मिनट गवाओगे. When you come to the content for which you'll get majority of the marks, there's a strong undercurrent of current affairs in each and every point. But the use of that point again gives that added advantage to the answer, which will probably help her get 1 or 2 marks more. Initially, जब कोई भी समाचार मंथन के क्लास में आता है, my first directive is अब देख के आंसर लिखो.
I started my full-fledged preparation after I joined the ultimate assessment program at Civilsdaily.
Civilsdaily.
There is a 12-month strategy which I have done on Civilsdaily platform only.
I reached out to the Civilsdaily team.
Civilsdaily.
Current affairs में Civilsdaily.
Civilsdaily.
A mentorship program of Civilsdaily, and that did help me a lot.
Hello everybody. You can see on the board there are 2 particular questions which are written. The first question states, the directive principles of state policy aim to establish a welfare state in India. Discuss their significance in constitutional framework and challenges in their implementation. This seems like a very straightforward question directly from your Lakshmikant. Most of you will answer this. Now look at the second one. In light of the recent Supreme Court judgments, critically examine the role of DPSP in realizing socio-economic rights in India. Now, though this answer is more or less same to the first one, you all will start thinking a bit and the initial inertia will develop due to the particular term in light of the recent Supreme Court judgments. Now, that is where exactly you falter in your UPSC Mains examination. Why does this happen? And how can we avoid it during our year-long preparation? Because our main goal should be कि एक ही attempt में mains पार करके interview तक पहुंचना है. If I have to give you one particular reason for this, everyone remembers the news, but only a few know how to write compelling answers. Now there's a reason for it, and the reason is how you approach answer writing and current affairs during your preparation. In this particular video, we will be taking up some of the copies of toppers and analyze what are the basic principles of current affairs they are imbibing in their answer writing. Now, once we get those principles out, it would become easy for us to devise a perfect preparation strategy of current affairs and answer writing at the same point. Now, this is a copy of Saloni Vats, rank 129. I want you all to very carefully read the question first. Now, what does the question tell? India has made significant efforts to revive and strengthen its partnership with Africa in the recent years. So basically, it's talking about Indian efforts in Africa in the recent years. The question asks you, highlight the key pillars of this engagement. Be very careful of the keyword, highlight. It's not asking you to discuss or explain. And the challenges that continue to hinder achievement of its full potential. Now let us see how she has approached this particular question. Now, how does she begin? Africa is a new domain of Indian foreign policy, part of its Act West paradigm. I want you to understand this very point at the start. जो उसने इंट्रोडक्शन लिखा है, आप कहीं पे भी वीडियो चले जाओ, कोई भी करंट अफेयर्स के या कोई भी मेंस के वीडियो बना रहा होगा, वो आपको 2-3 तरीके सिखाएगा. डेफिनेशन, कोई एक करंट अफेयर से उठा लो, केस स्टडी कर लो. The thing is, these are very vague. This I have specifically told in the Samachar Manthan classes. When you are writing an introduction, उसका root कुछ भी हो सकता है. Definition हो सकता है, current affairs हो सकता है, example हो सकता है, कोई challenge हो सकता है. But what is that one thing which is a proper introduction? That is identification of the theme and topic. That is why I said read the question very carefully. Now, if you read the question, it talks about India's significant efforts to revive and strengthen. And that is what she has just written in a very short and to the point sentence. She has identified the theme here, which is India-Africa relations, and the topic as well, that is India's efforts. This is our first learning from this particular answer. Now, going to the second part, इसके बाद बाकी हर कोई जो भी इवैल्यूएटर आपका देख रहा है, चेक कर रहा है, वो डायरेक्टली की पिलर्स ऑफ दिस एंगेजमेंट को जाएगा एंड चैलेंजेस को जाएगा. बट सी व्हाट शी हैज डन. शी हैज put a particular table here where she has talked about the significant efforts to revive the India-Africa relationship. Now, this particular thing was not asked in the question, remember, but it gives the answer the required nuance. क्योंकि India is reviving with Africa. सब लोग बोलेंगे हाँ चाइना कर रहा है, हम भी कर रहे हैं, बट व्हाट आर द सिग्निफिकेंट रीजंस और सिग्निफिकेंट एफर्ट्स what India has taken to revive. Now, this is something complementary. Understand this. This was not asked in the question, and that is why she has placed it in a diagram. Now, the second learning is use of diagrams. In the Samachar Manthan classes, we take this phase wise. Initially, जब कोई भी समाचार मंथन के क्लास में आता है, उसको my first directive is अब देख के आंसर लिखो. देख के आंसर लिखना क्यों जरूरी है? क्योंकि शायद आपके पास कंटेंट नहीं होगा. But these all very बहुत छोटे छोटे माइनर चीजें होती है, जैसे the way she has used the diagram. But this adds to the answer. This tells the examiner that you're understanding the context. Now, coming back to the two body parts. एक पूछा है key pillars and second challenges. No nonsense, and directly she moves to key pillars and challenges. And when she lists down the points, especially when she lists down the points here, you will see a very I think I'm a fan of this kind of writing personally. There is no beating around the bush. First point, it's direct historical legacy. How they faced colonial exploitation. Again, at the classes, if you remember, I have constantly told this to you all, that when you are listing down the points, don't just list down the whats, but you have to list down the hows as well. Yes, India and Africa have an historical legacy, but historical legacy how? Of what? Of colonial exploitation. Coming to the second point, Global South. Now, again, she has explained this point in the minimum number of words possible. Part of same developing world. Then diaspora ties, where she has talked about high influx of Indians in Rwanda, Johannesburg, Cairo, Nairobi. Now understand, high influx of refugees is something you will study when you study the base या फिर static content of IR. But ये जो specific places उसने लिख दिया, this comes from your awareness of what is going in the present day world. This cannot be taught to you or memorized by you. This is a way of studying which will come due to a particular process or system which you employ across the year. Now, coming back, then she talks about climate justice here, where she has taken CBDR RC. Common but differentiated responsibilities based on national capacities. In UNFCCC and UNCCD, impact of global warming. Now, these again appear constantly in your current affairs, but अब करते क्या हैं हम लोग कि इसको जब environment prelims के लिए पढ़ना होता है, तो we study about UNCCD, UNFCCC. But this question clearly is about India-Africa relations, and she has included environment in one of her points, which is very contemporary, very in the news, and probably each and every one of us knows. But the use of that point again gives that added advantage to the answer, which will probably help her get 1 or 2 marks more. Now, coming back to the challenges. This is the second part of the body. So again, one thing if you see, you can clearly demarcate कि ये introduction है. Imagine I am the examiner or you are the examiner. You can know कि यहाँ पे introduction है. फिर दूसरा body, again it's well demarcated, key pillars. Now coming to body, second part, challenges, and similarly the way forward. All the parts are perfectly highlighted. This is again an evidence of proper structuring, and this proper structuring will come 2 महीने के answer writing से नहीं, but if it is something which you do over a period of time. Because India-Africa is a very contemporary topic. It's very much in the news, and when you're writing the points of challenges, the points should be contemporary as well, and that is what she has taken care of here. If you look at the point, competition from China. Congo's approximately 90% minerals has been explored by China. Again, there's a use of data. It's a subtle use of data. This may not be the exact 90%, but she's aware of the fact that majority of the exploration in Congo is being done by China. This immediately, जो assertion इसने किया है यहाँ पे, this competition from China, she is substantiating it. So when I say there should be a proper assertion, this assertion will come from your understanding of current affairs, and substantiation would come if you know a particular current affairs, if you have read a particular current affairs over a long period of time. Never go for memorizing current affairs again and again क्योंकि फिर आप उसी point के चक्कर में 2 मिनट गवाओगे एग्जाम में, because you will be constantly thinking कि मुझे ये point लिखना है, ये point लिखना है, and that is not how it works. And then coming to this particular point again, if you see political instability, where she talks about civil wars in Sudan, ethnic tensions in Ethiopia. Very specific examples from current affairs. If I have to deconstruct her answer, I know 2 or 3 learnings till now. Introduction is heavily based on the theme and topic identification. The body and the conclusions are well structured, well separated, and well demarcated. ये तो structuring की बात होगी. When you come to the content for which you'll get majority of the marks, there's a strong undercurrent of current affairs in each and every point. If she is writing competition from China, this is a point which has been since past 10-15 years, but she is giving substantiation from current affairs. She is giving substantiation of civil wars to assert her point that there's political instability. Now, this is just one answer which we saw. And it's very easy to question that one particular answer because it may not be followed by others. So I have taken the answers of a few more rankers. Now this is an answer written by Harneet Singh Sudan, rank 177. The question says, Indian agriculture requires a transition in cropping patterns to secure sustainable farm production and enhance farmer incomes. In this context, discuss the changes required in the cropping pattern and highlight the measures taken. Now again, if you look at this particular question, this is a very contemporary question. There's a Pradhan Mantri Krishi Dhan Dhanya Yojana was introduced. This question is exactly in line with that. Now, again, if you look at the answer, India's cropping pattern reflects a subsistence pattern and does not go well with sustainable farm income and farm production. Hence, changes are required. So, what has he done here again? If I tell you one thing, topic identification. Topic says, in this context, in the context of the requirement of a transition in cropping pattern, this is what the question is telling. कि इंडियन एग्रीकल्चर को ट्रांजिशन जरूरी है क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न में. दिस इज द मेन टॉपिक. सो ही हैज डायरेक्टली एड्रेस्ड दैट. Yes, Indian agriculture requires a transition. Why? He has mentioned it here. Second, what did Saloni do? She had a complementary diagram from current affairs. And again, what has Harneet done here? The paper again has a complementary diagram explaining the present issues as well as some of the issues from past. This again is something you can see which is unique to all the copies of rankers which we are taking up. Third thing we had learned, अच्छे से demarcated है, segregated है हर कोई part. यहाँ पे question क्या है? Discuss the changes required, highlight the measures taken by the government. So changes required is first part of the body. Highlight the measures taken by the government to facilitate it is the second part of the body. And then there is conclusion to end it. Fourth thing which we learned, the points. It should not be just a listing down of points, but you have to explain your assertion. जो point 3-4 word में लिख रहे हो, you have to expand it a bit. So shift away from paddy and wheat, focus on pulses, which is the largest, India's largest importer and edible oil, 18 billion imports. So that is why changes is required. There is content or data from current affairs here to substantiate the assertion. Move to non-farm sector, example aquaculture and animal husbandry. And India is already taking steps in line with this. And he is mentioning the exact steps which India should be taking. Probably you can expand this a bit because it will give a larger productivity, a larger farm income. It will lead to diversification of agricultural income. Then use of technology. When he mentions use of technology, there's a clear substantiation like drones, drip irrigation, etc. And similarly, he has continued the answers. So there are few similar patterns you can immediately visualize in the answer copies. I'll take 1/3. Now this is the answer copy of Lavanya Gaur, rank 57. This was a question on reasons for low women representation in STEM workforce. Again, if you see, the identification of theme in the introduction is the very first step of writing the answer. Now, once you identify the theme, फिर उसको डेटा से एक्सप्लेन करो, डेफिनेशन से एक्सप्लेन करो, या चेंजेस क्यों चाहिए वाई वाला जैसे हरनीत ने किया था उस तरह से आंसर करो. If you see Lavanya's copy, the question is the reasons for low women representation in STEM workforce. Now what has she done? According to WEF Global Gender Gap Report, this is the report each and every one of you will study in your prelims. But using that in your answers is something, a skill which you have to develop. She directly mentions this particular report या फिर data से start किया है. But the theme which she has pointed out very correctly is low women representation in STEM workforce. And then if you look at her points, this is another learning which is very unique to this paper. If you see the keyword gender conditioning. Now gender conditioning is not something आप static में पढ़ोगे. अगर आपका sociology optional नहीं है, तो it's very difficult for you to come to this term. If you look at the Samachar Manthan notes, class notes, या फिर burning issues के notes, the entire ecosystem के जो weekly notes भी आते हैं, there are particular keywords at the beginning of every explanation. This is exactly that keyword, gender conditioning, then glass ceiling and glass cliff. This is answer writing of another level, because जो keywords मैं बार बार क्लास में बोलता हूं कि उसको याद रखो, उसको समझो और फिर कोई एग्जाम्पल डाल दो या केस स्टडी डाल दो. This is what is essentially enriching her answer. Now this is something, one new thing which we learned from this particular answer copy. बाकी सब तो more or less same ही है. There are divisions. Then if you look at the point, patriarchal bias, gender stereotyping, that women are suitable for emotional jobs like men, and so on and so forth. So she's again not listing down the points, but exploring the points. And that is what exactly we have to do at Samachar Manthan classes. If you are not attending, you have to go through this route, even if you are preparing individually. Now there's another term here, pink colorization. Parents persuade girls to take non-science stream subjects. Now, this is a very good point, picked up from current affairs, picked up from notes, and then it has been explored further. As an examiner, अगर मैं चेक कर रहा हूँ या आप भी चेक कर रहे हो, there are 3 or 4 copies जो आपसे पहले आएंगे और फिर ये कॉपी आएगा. अगर उस जो 3 or 4 copies पहले गए होंगे, this is relative marking. उनको अगर 4 या 5 दिए होंगे, the point I see terms such as pink colorization, then unintended policy, gender conditioning. The moment I see such points, I will instantly think of giving this paper some more marks. Now this amount of depth and nuance, I understand it is not possible unless you are reading that optional paper. और उतना time हमारे पास होता नहीं है. And that is where current affairs comes in handy. It provides you with such unique terms. It provides you with that proper enrichment for your answers. This is our first chapter of this particular video. Now we are pretty much aware of what all they have done, but what all they haven't done, beating around the bush. We saw Saloni's copy. There was direct points. Point, example, point, example, point, example. Then there is fact dumping. There was no fact dumping without analysis. If suppose she wrote Congo has approximately 90% of its minerals explored by China, the analysis was competition from China because China is already there. We are the second movers, or we are just secondary to China in moving into Africa. So this was the analysis which was there along with facts. Facts without analysis, जैसे आपको अगर ऐसा लग रहा है कि आप मेमोराइज कर लोगे, आपके पास एक बुकलेट आ गया और उसको आंसर, ऐसा नहीं होता है. The reason being, UPSC will not give you questions directly. It will ask you to understand the nuances behind that particular paper. Coming to the third, none of them have ignored the keywords. Highlight the key pillars of this engagement. Reasons for low participation of women in STEM. Whatever the question is asking, the answer is focused and relevant in that phase. Then the most important point, for which current affairs is most underrated, most ignored, but again the most important, is none of them have written generic introductions and conclusions. if you specifically look at their introductions and conclusions, it is heavily derived from current affairs. If you're strong in current affairs, if you have understood a particular current affairs, you can write introductions which are non-generic. जैसे यहाँ पे reasons for low women participation in STEM workforce. The patriarchal nature of Indian society or society since historical time has resulted in this. Other than this, there are various other reasons, such as this could also have been an introduction, but this is again very generic, very superficial, and this is not something which an UPSC ranker will write. An UPSC aspirant may write who has skimmed through multiple current affairs sources. So these are exactly the do's and don'ts which you have to follow during each and every Samachar Manthan test, which happens weekly. If you are not attending, if we do not meet in our classes, then wherever you are preparing from, keep these do's and don'ts in mind. Understand the directive clearly, use a structured format, substantiate with examples, so on and so forth. Is the exact same thing which we just saw in our previous slides. But the main question is how to reach there. Before that, there's one thing I'm going to tell all you who are watching these videos, especially while writing answers in general and writing answers from current affairs specifically. Never fall into the confidence illusion. Confidence illusion क्या है? ये मैंने बहुत सारे एस्पिरेंट्स में देखा है. अभी हम पूरा रेडी नहीं है तो हम आंसर लिखना अभी नहीं स्टार्ट कर सकते. पहले स्टैटिक करेंगे, फिर आंसर लिखना स्टार्ट करेंगे, फिर करंट अफेयर्स पढ़ेंगे, मंथली कंपाइलेशंस आएगा, ईयरली कंपाइलेशंस आएगा. उसमें प्रॉब्लम कहां होती है? You have a 10-month foundation course, right? After that, you take some time to revise. This is another 2 months gone. उसके अंदर prelims आ जाता है. And if you qualify prelims, फिर मेंस में आपके पास 2.5 या 3 महीने होते हैं जिसमें आपको ऑप्शनल पढ़ना है, सारा रिवाइज फिर से करना है और आंसर भी लिखना है. That is the place where exactly you move into your second attempt, and that goes on. क्योंकि जब सेकेंड अटेम्प्ट में आप फिर से आते हो, फिर से मेरे को रिवाइज करना है. वो चालू हुआ प्रोसेस, ऑप्शनल थोड़ा अच्छे से कर लेता हूं. दिस इज व्हाट यू हैव टू अवॉइड. नो, द रूट, इस प्रॉब्लम का रूट है द कॉन्फिडेंस इल्यूजन. क्योंकि हम आंसर राइटिंग सोचते हैं कि हम स्टार्ट करेंगे जब सब खत्म हो जाएगा. सब खत्म नहीं होता है. आंसर राइटिंग इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग एंड इट हैज टू गो ऑन फ्रॉम द स्टार्ट ऑफ योर प्रिपरेशन. आई विल शो दिस through an example. Now, this was a question which came in UPSC Mains. Discuss the possible factors that inhibit India from enacting for its citizen a uniform civil code as provided in DPSP. Now, suppose आपको ये question मिला, you have studied entirely. 10 month का foundation कर लिया, फिर 2 महीने prelims के लिए revise किया, and you know each and every part. When you go to the examination hall on the day of mains, this is what your answer looks like. Challenges in implementing UCC, religious and cultural diversity, constitutional and legal hurdles, political sensitivity, opposition. आपने more or less सारा point cover किया है. आपको ये multi-dimensional भी लगेगा क्योंकि religious include कर लिया, constitutional include कर लिया, legalities include कर लिया. But actually at Samachar Manthan classes, what you should be looking at is this should be your month 2 of writing answers. This cannot be an answer which you write in the UPSC Mains paper. क्योंकि इसमें current affairs enrichment है ही नहीं. If you look at this answer, now this is something which students write at 10th month of preparing through this particular process of Samachar Manthan. Religious and cultural diversity, you include Hindu Marriage Act, Muslim Personal Law. Examples, marriage laws vary, Hindu law recognizes by. जो essentially हमें current affairs के weekly PDFs में आपको मिला होगा. The commitment which you show over the period of year is going to show in your answers and ultimately in the final examination. Again, if you see constitutional and legal hurdles, Supreme Court judgments such as Shah Banu case of 1985. Now understand, Shah Banu case 1985 का है. अब स्टैटिक में एक बार पढ़ोगे, बट करंट अफेयर्स में अगर 3 बार इशू आ गया तो शाह बनो केस अगेन आपके पीडीएफ में आ जाएगा. दैट इज द अमाउंट ऑफ रिगर which you are going to get if you follow this answer writing process of writing weekly answers. So this overcoming confidence illusion will show finally in your answer sheets. The understanding of UCC, जो दोनों आंसर अभी हम देखे, you can show it as a basic knowledge of Article 44 and its significance. But the moment you start practicing this process, you go into an in-depth understanding with legal and historical and political perspectives. And similarly, each and every parameter of answer writing changes because you're doing it constantly. अभी बहुत जनों का ये डाउट रहता है कि हाउ डू वी ओवरकम कॉन्फिडेंस इल्यूजन, क्योंकि ऑनेस्टली जैसे 10 मंथ का फाउंडेशन जब तक नहीं होता है, आपके दिमाग में जो एक चीज रहता है कि हाउ डू वी अपीयर फॉर क्वेश्चंस. फर्स्ट लेट मी टेल यू हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू प्रिपेयर. दिस इज 10 to revision. You have prelims here, and then your answer writing with current affairs starts somewhere after prelims. What I tell is, आपका ये प्रिपरेशन ऐसा ही चलता रहेगा जो आपका फाउंडेशन है, बट करंट अफेयर्स प्लस आंसर राइटिंग इज हियर. एग्जैक्टली सेम टाइम पे you have your prelims revision, 2, 3, 4 months, whatever. So this is the commitment which you need to give, because once you understand you're giving 10 months or हफ्ते का एक दिन या 2 दिन max in this current affairs plus answer writing system, you would be way ahead of any other person studying in the above manner. उन्हें आंसर राइटिंग तो करना ही पड़ेगा, भले वो 5 आंसर लिख के जाए या 50 आंसर लिख के जाए. वो डिफरेंस इन योर प्रिपरेशन इज गोइंग टू बी मेड बाय द प्रोसेस ऑफ समाचार मंथन. नाउ द वन क्वेश्चन विच यू माइट बी हैविंग, कि आपने अगर पढ़ा नहीं है कोई टॉपिक, you do not know the static part of it, how are you going to handle it? And this is especially for the new Samachar Manthan students as well who have just joined, and they might be, this doubt might be floating in their minds. So this is a question of July week 1. It was in the news, in current affairs. So this was the question which they got in the test. Custodial torture remains a grave concern in India's criminal justice system despite constitutional and legal safeguards. Discuss the underlying causes of custodial torture and suggest effective measures to ensure accountability, and so on and so forth. If you look at this question for a new aspirant, I understand you would find it difficult getting, कहाँ पे difficulty होगा. एक, what is criminal justice system before the class. Discuss the underlying causes of custodial torture. Suggest effective to ensure accountability. Or what I say is, this is your Samachar Manthan article directly from the magazine. Now if you look at the question, first what did we learn from toppers? Identify the themes, identify the main topic crux of that particular question. It is custodial torture remains a grave concern in India's criminal justice system despite constitutional and legal safeguards. That means custodial torture is a problem. And we have had safeguards, but still it is a problem. So then once you've identified the theme is criminal justice system reforms, and the topic is custodial torture. Now you can either link these two and frame an introduction, या फिर अगर आपको टॉपिक हैवी रखना है तो write something about custodial torture. Based on that, you have different types of introduction which you can write. Now once we are done with the introduction, we come to the body part 1, which is what are, if you look at the question again, despite constitutional and legal safeguards. Now if you are writing this for the first time at the UPSC center, you will miss this part. Despite constitutional and legal safeguards. इसका normal approach आपका रहेगा underlying causes of custodial torture लिख देना है and effective measures suggest करना है. But the most important part is the question is asking you despite constitutional and legal safeguards. That means go into your Samachar Manthan magazine and mention it in the form of a diagram, as we just saw in the papers of, say, Saloni or Harmeet. What are the steps taken by the Indian government? So this is your entire answer here. What you are basically doing is you are learning how to write the answer. So this is your body part 1. The second question kya tha? Challenges. If you look at this, what are the key reasons behind recurring custodial deaths in India? So the key reasons जो हैं वही challenges ही होंगे. Because custodial death तो वो challenges of custodial torture ही हैं. So this becomes your body part 2. Then you come to the third aspect, which tells you to suggest effective measures. How can you suggest? एक तो वो आपको directly way forward पूछ दे रहा है. So this is body part 3. And along with it, there are some well-researched case studies like the United Kingdom and South Africa, and what are the steps taken there. Probably we can imbibe something into our criminal justice system on the basis of this. So the first 3 months of your Samachar Manthan classes, take the PDF, take the test paper questions. If you aren't aware of a number of stuffs, take this, see this, mark the bodies, identify the theme, and start learning to write as the toppers have done. Now, once we do this together over a period of good 1 year, I think mains, अब जितनी बार prelims clear करोगे, उतनी बार interview जाओगे. So with this, I'm concluding this particular lecture. I hope to see you a lot in the classes and we can take this discussion forward. Thank you.